oh, the nerds are in the park LARPing. And I'd probably be there like, I'm ready to LARP. So I wish that would be so cool, but that's definitely got to happen. Internet, please make that happen.
Kandi crew, what is up, Kandi fam? Before we get into the episode, if you guys can please hit that like button and subscribe, that would be so great, and it'd be a great way to support Best Kandi Ever. Leave me a comment, let me know what other guests you'd like to see on the podcast, and let's have a good time. Kandi crew, what is up? Welcome to this episode of Best Kandi Ever. Today, I have a very special guest on the podcast. She had actually started messaging me, reaching out when I started Best Kandi Ever, and was honestly just a great person to talk to and was kind of an inspiration. Upon clicking her profile, I saw that she makes these beautiful candies, her and her husband, I believe, and is honestly very talented. So without further ado, please welcome my friend Stina, aka Yodaplurway.
Hello. Hi. Everyone knows me by Yoda.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask you about that before we even start, but thank you for being on here. Why is that like your favorite character, or is that just like a nickname you had forever?
Yes. So I've had the nickname Yoda all through high school as well. And I'm such a old school Star Wars buff. So even through all the new progression of Star Wars, I'm like, no, gotta stay strong. You know, it's just one more movie, but now they're finished with the franchise and moving on to other stuff. But I always get asked a lot, and it kind of just clicked. It ended up being my my Rave name given to me, and all the funny stuff about people coming up and those cherished moments. If anyone has had one where they're talking about, you know, how did you get your Rave name? Someone was like, oh, you know, your aura is very green, very blue. I'm looking at them like, okay, thanks. That's really nice. And they're like, you know, I see it. And I was like, well, my nickname is Yoda. And they're like, that's it. So it's stuck with me for years now. So I think that is one of the funny things too, is when people call me by my real name, I'm just so used to hearing Yoda that it sometimes doesn't click. And I'm like, man, they're really yelling at trying to get someone's attention. And I'm like, wait, that's me if someone doesn't call me Yoda. But now with festivals not happening, I'm getting more used to people calling me Stina.
Oh my gosh, so does your family call you Yoda as well?
One of my siblings does, yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. So can you actually tell us a little about yourself? Like where you're from, how long you've been raving for?
Yeah, so I am from the Bay Area, actually, and I decided today, I was a little nervous. I was like, I always wear a beanie, and I'm always rocking something Bay Area related. So for my little comfort level, I don't know if anyone else has that like comfort thing where I was like, I'll wear my beanie. It's okay.
No, that's how I feel about fake eyelashes. Trust me.
Okay,
I think we all have our own thing that we like need whenever we're somewhere.
Right. So I'm from the Bay Area. I moved here 8 years ago on July 3rd. I really don't recommend moving before a major holiday. It was a horrible experience. But within a few weeks of moving down here to Southern California, where I currently live, I was set up on a blind date setup with my now husband. And we could both assure you it was the worst blind date I think any of us have ever been on in our lives. And here we are 8 years later, and we haven't left.
Oh, wow. 8 years strong. That's awesome.
Yes, we just got married last year and forgoed the whole thing. So we're like, let's just go to the courthouse. Why not?
Oh, well, congratulations. That's so good to hear. What part of the Bay did you live in?
Yeah, so I grew up in San Lorenzo, and then I spent my, during high school, after high school, like younger years in downtown Oakland, you know. Shout out to the Oakland side of Lake Merritt for all the people that live on that Oakland side of Lake Merritt, where there is not a lot of just craziness happening. And I lived off of 17th and Jackson for a few years, and I absolutely loved it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to live in Hayward for a little bit. I went to middle school
Hey,
there.
Stacks.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but I before that I lived in San Bernardino. So I'm like, what? Like we're both like NorCal and SoCal.
Yay. Oh, I love meeting other people as well that understand there's such different, I don't want to say communities, but it really feels like you're almost in a different state when you're living in the Bay Area versus, where I live specifically now. It's just totally different. It really is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Even the weather is completely different. It's like for the most part really muggy and cold there, and then SoCal, of course, is like nice all the time for the most part.
Agreed.
Yeah, but before we even move on, I just have to say everything behind you looks amazing. Is that a tapestry that you have there? Is it like
It's
the tree
my
of life
You
or?
see my work Zoom background. I I fall into that category of people trying to find a Zoom background, and this is actually our puppy crate right now that everything's sitting on. But as I say, it's a velvet tapestry, and I needed some kind of texture for whenever I'm doing like conference calls to have something that fits well with the lighting.
Oh, it's beautiful. And okay, I can't stop looking at your seven lions. Are those perlers? It looks like
Yes.
they light up or.
So I, especially as well from following you from the grassroots to where you are now, and congratulations again, much love.
Thank
It was
you.
so hard because you always ask, hey, what is your favorite candy? And it was so hard for me to pick. So I tried picking little bits and pieces from people that are just mean a lot to me in life. It was just so hard to just pick one or two, but I did narrow it down to one piece, but I was like, you know what, I'll bring them out, and they are,
Yes, it's like
if
this
I can
giant
reach.
showcase.
So they're all different Seven Lions perlers, and you can even see where they connect as well. So they're all different perler pieces put together, just in different ways. So I have my mini hammer. My husband is the original creator of the Seven Lions hammer, which I know has been replicated and reconstructed for different things many times.
And your
And then
husband's like a candy kid too, right? I think I started
yes,
following him, Z's Candy.
correct. Yes. So as to say, these two are his babies. And then someone lovingly, his name's Angel, Show Me Angels, made me this so that I can have a Mrs. Hammer. And I love this thing. I love
Oh my
booping people
gosh.
with it because it's so soft. It's just one of those little funny things. You're walking through a crowd and you just boop someone with the hammer.
Oh, it's adorable. Is this a thing? I wasn't even aware. I knew Seven Lions like his logo. Like lots of people have his actual like his logo as a necklace, like a perler necklace. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that hammer was even a thing. But now, like I'm just struck with how awesome it looks, and I can see that the one in the back, that one changes colors and everything.
Yeah, so candy weapons have really come a long way. The first time I ever saw a candy weapon, who is now a friend of ours, and it's funny we've never actually met in person too, which always it's just one of those crazy things where you can have such a great friend, but you've never met them in person. It reminds me of the old MySpace days. But her name is Rachel. I believe her IG is Bubble Blue, and it was the first time I had ever seen candy or perlers or even beadwork created to create these candy weapons. And now candy weapons are everywhere. And one of the larger accounts is her name is Amy, and she does a lot of cosplay and whatnot at like these larger shows or Comic-Con, and she creates full battle armors out of candy. So it's something newer to my knowledge. In the past at least 3 years I've seen it really just take off, and now everyone's trying to make candy related weapons and whatnot.
Oh my! I had no idea. What about? Have you seen like those swords? They're like perler swords. I don't know if that's part
Yeah,
of the candy
it's same
weapon.
category. Yes, same category.
Okay, wow. Oh my gosh. So did this just start within like the last like 2 years? Because I wasn't aware like at all.
It definitely has grown a lot of popularity, and I know as well. So Zach, it was a friend made one completely out of perlers, and Zach took inspiration and made the hammer. and then ended up making the axe afterwards. And he's working on a new project right now. But one of our really good friends who his son is, we consider our nephew as well. His name is Matt. And he has since created a few Kandi weapons as well that have also just gone completely viral. And it really pushed it to the forefront. And I believe that was about 2.5 years ago, that I've just seen it explode everywhere. And, Kandi swords. We have a Kandi shield that our friend Paul made, and it's a Captain America logo because I'm always joking he has America's ass. So we have
nice.
So we have a Captain America one, and it's anything someone can think of, or you see a lot of Legend of Zelda related Kandi swords. I think that might be the one you're thinking of too.
Yes. My friend Desmond from the Festi Files, I don't know if you've seen his stuff, but he has a podcast, and he's like a big Porter Robinson fan. And I remember seeing, I want to say they were like inspired by him, or it could have been Legend of Zelda, but it was definitely like that sword. And because they're like Kandi weapons, do people go into like Kandi battle? Is this like this giant thing where people like kind of fight each other with it? Or do you think it's just like something that kind of started out as fun, like this cool trend that's going on?
I'm trying to think of the name right now, and I feel so disappointed I can't think of it. Oh, LARPing. I wish people would do LARPing with Kandi. I think that would be so epic.
What is that? What's LARPing?
LARPing is when a group of people get together and recreate different battle scenes from points in history. So you'll see a lot of people, or funny, nerdy references. I know Family Guy and at least South Park has done a LARPing spinoff where it's like, oh, the nerds are in the park LARPing. And I'd probably be there like, I'm ready to LARP. So I wish that would be so cool, but that's definitely got to happen. Internet, please make that happen.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. Okay. I've seen that back when I was going to college. I've seen a group of like Star Wars fans do that with lightsabers.
Same. Yeah. It's so cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I hope that happens. I think that's I think it's fun, and it's not like violent in any way or anything. I think it's all like Kandi love, really.
It is. And I will say we've only ever had one instance where someone, like a security entering a festival, was like, I don't know, like it's a weapon. And we didn't tell them what it is. We're holding our straps.
What was it?
And everything. It was the battle axe in the background. And they're like, I don't know. I think you have to open it so we can see what's inside. And we're like,
lights.
Explain to them like, you'll break it if you do. And thankfully, like, another security guard came over. It was one of those lucky moments. But other than that, I know I've heard a few other people say they've had issues bringing in swords specifically because it's considered a weapon, whether you physically tell the person, hey, this is just a piece of candy.
Or it's a costume. It's part of your costume.
Part of your attire. But I know I've heard about it, at least in some places, people have issues bringing in the swords. However, we've been very lucky with that. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah. No, that's so awesome. In terms of that Captain America shield, did you say that you have one or your husband has one?
Yes, it was gifted to both myself and my husband from our friend Paul, or everyone knows him in California as Tigger. And he as well makes a lot of larger pieces. And I know I have one of his up here somewhere as well. But I didn't want to bring the huge one over. I was like, I'm running out of space.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, was that Captain America one, is it like life size or is it like kind of small? That's what I was really curious about. Life size.
It's kind of heavy, yeah. It's kind of heavy. So we have it mounted on the wall. I think that's one of the reasons I didn't want to take it off the wall, like take all the stuff off of it. But it is made with pony beads. So like
Oh, I imagined it being like all perler beads.
It's made out of just the regular pony beads sewn together with some sort of peyote stitch to create the pattern.
Oh, I just heard about the peyote stitching from Kandi Diva, and I was just like in my head,
Alex.
I was like,
yes.
Yeah, I was like, she's talking about like the cactus, and then I had no idea that it was a specific type of stitching. But oh my god, that is so awesome! I absolutely love how you and your husband like are both these like epic candy kids, and
Oh,
now
thank you.
seeing, yeah, and now seeing like your guys' stuff in the background, I'm like, okay, we have to like go through each piece because I see like this giant rainbow cuff too.
There's a few. I was going to say, I kind of forgot what I put up here. I was just like, I love this person. This person means a lot. And, I was talking with Z about it. I was like, I don't know how I pick one. He's like, why don't you just pick one from people that have meant a lot and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, I'll just throw it in the background. It'll be fine.
Yes, these are so great. This kind of reminds me of the very first episode I did with a guest with Kiana because she had like these giant ones too, just like you have like
Yes.
these Sailor Moon ones. And just looking at them makes me super excited because I forget how artistic and creative you guys are
It
and like how much work you guys put
I
into it.
completely agree. There's some things, and I will agree with you on the peyote stitch. I will be dead honest, I rarely navigate that field, and it is not something that I enjoy when it comes to candy, because it takes it takes a specific eye to make those pieces and make them come to life. And especially with recently, it's been a tougher last year. I would say, 2021 is 2020, but with a bad bangs haircut. And uh,
Right?
one of the pieces that was created by an individual for a Secret Santa that I was a part of adminning, they did peyote stitch work, and we were able to randomly pair up two people that specifically make peyote stitch style candy. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited for this. It's just going to be so epic. And it was so cool as well. But it is like, some people don't like perlers. I do not like peyote stitch. And I will not even try to pretend that I know how to do some of these like super gnarly things. I just look at it and I'm like, that's cool. Like, okay.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
I
you
touch it? That's about it.
yeah, it sounds like you appreciate the art, but other than that, that's it for the most part.
Pretty much, yeah. I won't BS you there.
Oh my God. So when did you get into creating candy or I guess even start raving because those two really go hand in hand?
Yes, so I started raving, or the first rave I ever went to was at I guess, a club in San Francisco. I think I had just freshly turned 18, or I was just about to turn 18. I'm pretty sure I was 17 at the time. And my friend got me in, and it was like their rave night at the club. And I'll never forget, I actually desperately tried to find this piece of candy, but I think it's in storage. And I still have the first ever candy I was received, and it was a single. I didn't understand. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I don't have any money for this transaction. Like, what are you trying to sell me? As like a small little 17-year-old. And he took the time to explain Plur and explain all of these things. And it really captivated me at such a young age. And flash forward over 10 years later, about 4 years ago, we were at an event, and I started noticing, I was like, we're still in our 20s, we're still in our late 20s, but why do I feel like Plur is not being communicated that way? Or what's a way that I can spread some kind of positivity, give something back to the community that's given us so much and given us lifelong friendships, essentially? It just kind of clicked. And so I went on YouTube like anyone else. And the first cuff I ever made, which I do have somewhere sitting over here, I have one of the first cuffs I ever made. And it is so stretchy, you could slingshot it across the room, which I always find hysterical, watching the progress of what you can do with candy and how it changes, and how all of us as creators can evolve to create different things, whether it's as simple as a single candy bracelet or any of the items behind me. It's such an evolution for each individual person, and it brings out that little bit of yourself that you want to give back and create some kind of positive, lasting memory without giving away a piece of your soul. But at the same time, it feels like you are, but it's in the most gratifying way that you're like, carry on, please take this with you. Thank you so much for your kindness, or thanks so much for the water, or whatever it is. So yeah, 4 years ago, I went on YouTube like everyone else, I actually taught my husband Z, and he has quite quickly surpassed me in many things as well. And I've now taught, I think, about 10 people how to make candy throughout the years. And it's interesting to see how that's kind of taken a part in their life as well.
Wow. So are you teaching them how to do, for the most part, just like singles, or are you teaching them cuffs? Or are you teaching them kind of everything that you know?
I was about to say, I did bring out my singles bag, which I have on the floor, always as, hey guys, if you just want to come over before, and I guess this is past tense, but past tense now, but I always have like a mixed bag of just random beads. I'm like, yeah, feel free to go through, make whatever you'd like. Here's something I've made for size reference, and I'll try and teach people the difference between sizing. That has become one of my passions with candy, is having a piece of candy that fits every body type, whether that person is extra, extra small and it needs to be like a 27 bead circumference for a single, which is quite small, all the way up to our lovely bigger girls. And they want something, I think it was really instrumental. Someone at a show, it's like, no, you don't have to give me candy. And we're chatting amongst this loud blaring music at the bass pod. And she goes, every single piece of candy I've been given tonight has broken because it was too small. So I went through my entire collection that I had brought in with me I'm just pulling stuff off of my strap. And I finally find something that I was like, okay, this is meant to be like an upper bicep cuff. So it's gotta fit her. And she put it on, and it actually like went to her elbow, and she started crying. I started crying. We had a grand old moment, but it really occurred to me that it's so important to create that kind of inclusivity within the community, because not every single is going to fit every single person. And when you are walking around a festival with, I don't know if I can cuss or not, but
You can. I do it all the time.
Okay. I definitely have a sailor's tongue, so I'm trying really hard. But, when you're walking around with just a shit ton of candy or just a bunch of stuff on, people naturally are going to kind of gravitate towards you. And to be able to have something to say, yeah, I have something that fits you, or I have something I think that you would like and it fits them, is just so important. And it's become one of my passions when I am making something. Sometimes I'll make it 2 or 3 times in different sizes as well.
Oh my gosh. See, I feel like that's what makes hardcore candy kids like you really different compared to like a rookie candy maker like myself, because it sounds like you really took the time to create candy that will fit everyone. And that alone is just so meaningful and sweet in itself, because you don't want anyone to feel left out. And that totally shows, because that girl started crying. So I'm sure that was just something.
Such a moment. I really remember it like yesterday. But I think to tag on to your original question with when I'm teaching people candy, if they don't want to make a big cuff, if they don't want to make a perler, they're just over to have a few beers and just go through our random bag of beads that they don't care about, and they're not into candy, that is the one thing that I will push.
Is to create different sizes.
Yeah, as well. Because especially, I don't know if you remember back when you're wearing candy and it kind of the bead imprint on your skin, on your arms after a while of wearing so much. I was trying, if they're a little more, I don't want to say closed-minded, but if they're like, oh, I'll just make them all the same. I'm like, I try and use that frame of reference. Like, oh, when you wear them so long, it'll be nice to have some that fit up here. When in reality, someone's wrist may be the size of the upper arm, or someone's wrist may be the size of A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. That is the one thing I will always push for, even if they have no want to make candy other than to just have a single to give out.
Oh my God, you're so nice. I feel like a dick. I just literally
No.
cut a whole bunch of string. I'm like, okay, here we go. And I am so selfish because for me personally, when I wear all the candy, I'm like, okay, I don't want them to be tight. I want them to kind of be a little loose. So I'm really thinking about myself. But in terms of like the creative part, like what it says, the beads that I use, the charms, that's when I really think about the other person. But I try not to make them too small anyways, because guys are, their wrists and hands are always bigger than girls. So I try to make them a little
Exactly.
larger, but I wasn't even thinking about like bigger girls, smaller girls. So that's
Everyone
really
comes in
great.
different shapes and sizes, and I had always tried to make different ones, but I also never thought about it that way until I had that interaction with her and us having that like total moment, Of course there's music blaring. We could barely hear each other, but sometimes when you just feel that energy with someone, and that was at the very beginning of me making candy too, which is about 4 years ago now. I had that experience, and it's just stuck with me through all these years that, oh, this is something that people go through, or people get rid of candy because it doesn't fit them, just those little things that you
Right.
never would think about.
That's true. So you mentioned that when you met that girl that you had like several candies. So you were like definitely looking. Do you have, or when you go to festivals, do you normally bring a bunch of candy, or do you have candy all the way up to like your shoulder, or do you carry like a belt with you?
I say definitely every candy kit is different. I prefer the belts, and someone told this to me years ago. And you go to Walmart, go to the camping section, buy yourself a little clip-on, little just simple, I think they call them tethers. They're like $3, and they have something like 100-pound max strength on them for this little clip. And that's the belt that I use because it's super cheap and it's effective. So I always have these like giant loops on me. And it's really comical whenever we have to split up, conquer, and divide. I'm like, hey, can you watch my candy? And every now and then, one of us will just be standing there with just this pile of everyone's backpacks with just candy on top, whoever gets stuck waiting there. So I say, yes, I always try and bring in quite a few cuffs. I know every candy kit is different. My goal is always 5 1Xs, at least 3 to 4 2Xs and or 3Xs, and then a few larger pieces. And over the past couple of years, I've really been getting into perlers. So I will usually have quite a lot of perlers on. And those are the items that I'll try and, I don't want to say get rid of, but I'll try and trade out first because they cause a lot of tension on your neck. Especially if your hair's down, you just get like all this tanglies in your perlers. And I'm like, okay, I hope you liked, hope you want some hair with your perler. Thank you so much. And then they trade back.
I was about to say, like, don't you get hot? I get hot with
Yes.
just like 5 candies on my wrist. Like that arm gets so hot. So when I see the candy kids, I'm like, you guys are the diehards because and they're heavy if you
They
have
can
like a
be
ton.
heavy. Yeah, especially with perlers for me. It started off as a joke and it's become our like finite, finger, pinky cross. I will carry all of our perlers because he doesn't like it. It's too much for him to have that weight there. He just doesn't like it. So I'll carry all the perlers and he'll carry a few more of my cuffs in exchange.
Wow. So you guys definitely tag team and make this like a priority.
Yes. But we do definitely have different styles, just like everyone does. He has his thing that he really enjoys and gravitates towards, and then vice versa as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you ever had a moment where you're at a festival or a show and you have all that candy and you just regret it for a second just because you have so much stuff and you're just like what if you want to like dance or like do you ever feel like you're weighted down by that candy or you don't even think about it?
There's definitely moments, and I would be completely hypocritical if I didn't say that I feel everyone has had that moment at least, especially when you are like, oh, we finally found a good spot, and you put all your stuff down and you just want to relax. And then people walk through, and of course, there's always someone that bumps into you. It's just the nature of it. And someone steps on a cuff, and then the cuff just shatters everywhere. Or you're looking at it like, oh, it didn't break, but it looks kind of gross. And now I got to slowly move my pile of crap away from everyone else. So There definitely have been moments like that, or goodness, I think it was 2018 or 2017. We were at Beyond, and it was a pretty chaotic event, definitely one for the books. And there was definitely a lot of moments where I'm like, if I didn't have this weighing me down, I would have fixed this problem, especially as a rave mom or like the leader of quite a few groups, or rave moms, rave aunts of other groups as well.
Are you the rave mom?
I am, yeah. I am. It was unintentional. I was like, I don't want that crap. And they're like, you're rave mom. I'm like, okay, that's fair.
Oh, well,
Yeah, I would be lying if I'd say there weren't moments, because there have definitely been moments, and I'm thinking of them all in my head right now too, where it's like, if only, and everything works out.
yeah, well, that's why I respect you guys so much, and it's definitely a craft that isn't easy. So I do understand like why you would be a little upset if someone were to like step on it or step on something that someone traded you.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, and it just kind of, you never really get used to it, but you get used to anticipating it, if that makes sense. I don't know if that does. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Oh gosh, so you have this giant like it sounds like you have a plan when before you go to an event in terms of making sure that you have like X amount of candy sizes,
Per day,
like your
yes.
belt, you're going to hold this while I hold this.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that just kind of developed over the years, I'm guessing?
Yes. So when back to when I originally was like, I need to find a way to, give back to the community, where people go through, I've realized a lot of people go through the phase of like, okay, I want to go to a rave, and Escape Halloween in Southern California is one of the largest California events, specifically because a lot of, I guess, non dedicated, I can't think of the right way to phrase it, Renee, maybe you can help me with this, but it's one of those larger events where people go just to get fucked up because it's Halloween and you can get dressed up. So as I say, it's like, okay, if a lot of people are just going to go, who are the people that are going to be carrying this through? And that's kind of how Kandi came into it. Like, okay, maybe I can instill this memory into someone by having that, even if they're only going to be there for that one event. Maybe they'll do something, it's definitely evolved in that way.
You're right. I think it's a memory. It's like you're giving a memory. And
Yes.
I actually love Escape, and I've been the past 2 years, and I always make these themed candies. So last year I made a bunch that said witchy AF or boo or just cute little
I like
Halloween things.
that.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
try to use little like orange and black, or I had these little skull charms and stuff. So
Oh,
whenever I would give it, I always like tell people when I make it, like if I've really spent time on that candy, I'm like, it says BOAF because it's Escape and it's Halloween.
yeah.
And I feel like that normally is like kind of imprinted into their minds, and
Great.
there's like that special connection, and I feel like people just appreciate it more whenever they receive something from someone at whatever festival, whatever show, because it's like that little act of kindness that happened that day, and it's like a positive moment that I think is like attached to that event.
I love hearing you say that. I hear a lot of candy kids as well, or even people that aren't super invested in candy, always reference that. And that's just at the very, very bare minimum, it's essentially you're trading a memory. You're trading a little piece of yourself and saying, hey, you're really cool to run into. Or even if it's just like someone's all the way up from like the very bare minimum to the very extreme, it really just comes down to that. And I love hearing you say that, because that's where it all starts.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to describe it as a transfer of love. Whenever you guys do
Mhm.
exchange the candy or give it to someone, it definitely is that transfer of love. And I feel like there's always that wow factor at the end where they're like, "Whoa, like that was cool." And um, what I really like is when they don't like, what is it? They don't expect anything in return, or if someone's
Oh,
giving me
yes.
something, I'm
Yes.
always like, you don't have to, like, it's a gift, or no, like, you don't owe me anything. If this is your arm of special candies, like, keep it. Like, I don't want you to part with it because it's obviously really meaningful.
I agree. And actually, that makes me laugh because I always, I have a what people call a sick, cruel addiction to making singles. I just have a bunch of beads and charms out. I'll just sit there. I'll just put on something like that I've watched a zillion times that I love. Like I'm an avid How I Met Your Mother fan. I'll just throw it on and I'm just sitting there making singles. And then by the time we go to an event, whatever group I'm with, whatever family I'm with that night, I'm like, oh, here, you just take a couple. And it's always nice to, because you don't want to have that moment. And even if you do, it's okay. But to say, oh, this is all of my keep arm, or this is my keep arm, to have like a few extra, I like doing that. It's helpful.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I usually have a little bucket too, where it's just a whole bunch of random candy, and I'll just string them together,
Yes.
some random word, but then it always ends up looking cool. And then I have my other special batch, which is normally the one with all the special beads and the iridescent charms and all that stuff. And I normally try to I had this thing where I was like, okay, at least 2 a day until the festival comes. Like, make
Yeah,
at least
you
2 a
think
day,
that
and just like,
deadline.
yeah, and just like pump them out. But even then, that gets really difficult for me. So I'll normally just like take off like one day and just have like this giant like candy party, and sometimes it's just
Oh,
me.
I miss those. Even if it is just you, you're like, this is my dedicated day to get this done. I truly miss that. I think that's one of the big things that I do miss is, our our tiny space. It's a house, but our house is always been the like people come over, people hang out here. So even last year when it's like, hey guys, we're not going to have our like summer party, we're not going to have our Christmas party here. That's always a hard thing too, because it's like you just miss that human interaction, and truthfully, it's you miss having something to look forward to, especially if, like myself and my husband, we both have really stressful jobs, and I have a real high intensity job. So it's nice to just have something to look forward to, whether it's a concert to go see Slipknot, which I would do again in a
You're a Slipknot
heartbeat.
fan? Okay.
Yes, I am the original emo kid with a horrible dyed hair. Like fifth grade, dyeing my hair in the bathroom, digging through my mom's makeup, just going like crayons, and just I still absolutely adore metal, melodic death metal.
Okay, I have to ask you, who were like your top 3 growing up, like your favorite metal bands? Because I was a former metalhead as well. So
Yes.
whenever I hear that, I get like super excited. Now I understand why you like love Seven Lions, because he's like a metalhead too.
Yes. So forever in my heart, I absolutely adore Slayer. Uh, Pink Floyd honestly was a big one. If I could throw Rolling Stones in there, I would. I'm really sorry to all the Beatles fans out there. Just not for me. I love the Rolling Stones, but definitely Slayer. Oh gosh. Oh, this is so difficult. Oh, I'm really trying to think. Sepultura. I have to throw Sepultura in because they are still to this day the number one. They are the Slayer of South America and like Spain and Europe. So I'm gonna throw Slayer, Sepultura, and trying to think of like a real douchey band to throw in there. I'm gonna throw a Day to Remember in there. I'm gonna throw the douchey pick in there that's not metal, just for shits and giggles.
That's okay. That's okay. I think for the most part, everyone has that, because my douchey one was Cradle of Filth. I
Yes. Oh
love
my
them.
gosh.
Yeah, I think for the most part, a good chunk of ravers loved metal, loved hardcore or punk or indie or something. And I just think it's so hilarious that we all kind of found ourselves here together in the rave scene.
Well, I think it's also a great way too, if you have a friend that's like, hey, I want to go with, I just don't like the music. Okay, what do you listen to? Like, oh, I listen to Cradle of Filth and Slayer. Like, okay, maybe we can get you interested, and let's start off
Sullivan
with
King.
Excision really easily. Or if someone's like, hey, I like country and I like oh my gosh, I can't even think. I like bluegrass and country. It's like, okay, maybe we'll start you off with some more like maybe more generic, like actually not generic, but like Porter Robinson, maybe a little Seven Lions, and something more melodic and feelsy. And then maybe just throw some Martin Garrix in there for the party vibes. Like you can find different subcategories of EDM to correlate with other subcategories of other music that has that same beat or same style, and just that's how you put it in there. Like a lot of bass heads are usually like ex emo kids, and I'm like, oh, I found my people. So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you're at a set and then whoever's playing decides to throw in some Slipknot like Funk Case, or Sullivan King did it with My Chemical Romance, and
Oh,
you hear the kid, like people singing along, and you just stare at them and you're like, yep, we were like in this together in high school.
a person.
Yeah.
All outcasts together, reunited, and somehow we ended up being cooler, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that we all kind of found each other here, because I feel like a lot of those like rock scenes are not necessarily dying, but I feel like there's a lesser interest. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just finding that like EDM is taking over. But
I agree. No, you're not wrong. I mean, even my favorite, like I love the Woody Show in the morning because they're up at 5, 6 a.m. and they're an LA radio like morning talk show. And I always listen to them because if I have to be on East Coast time and get up by 5 a.m. and still work until 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I know that they're going to be up. And to hear even them, an indie rock show, playing little bits and pieces of EDM in their show, I'm like, this is weird. Okay, this is the normal now. Like, it's definitely creeping into other areas where you're like, never thought I'd hear this song play on this radio or this person doing vice versa. It's definitely taking over in a sense. It's becoming more approachable.
yeah, no, that's for sure. We were actually watching it's called like Dream Home Makeover on Netflix, and my boyfriend was like, oh yeah, like they're into EDM, and I was like, what? And like as I was watching, I was listening, and they were playing like that super generic EDM, so that way
some kind of house music that plays on the radio station.
yeah, like during the whole thing. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. But for sure, I feel like EDM has definitely gotten like more acceptance, and I feel like people, yeah, especially here in Vegas, it's like hardcore EDM city, since they have all the resident DJs like for a while, like Stevie Aoki, Calvin Harris, even Skrillex at one point.
I remember seeing that because we have a friend that lives in Vegas, and he just moved, I think, from Henderson to like one of the closer suburbs.
Yeah.
He's always telling us about, there's always some residency somewhere like come out and visit in the past. So
yeah,
it's weird. We're like, oh, I thought we finally went from one alternative group to another alternative group. And now you see all of the, like, I guess it's funny, like see the like popular girls that are like, oh, I'm so into this now. And I'm like, you don't know. You weren't there, but it's in a way, it's good that it's being accepted. It helps. It makes it an easier dinner table conversation with relatives.
Yeah, I mean, I say welcome. As long as you come into it with like an open mind, don't have any preconceived notions about it, then I say, hey, welcome and enjoy, and let's have fun, and like, let's show each other like what it's all about. And I think that's what's really cool about it, especially if, when you meet somebody at a rave and they're like, it's my first one, and they're like really receptive to everything, then that's when I get really hyped about it, because then I'm like, I'm going to pop your rave cherry, and we're going to go in here and we're going to do XYZ. And it's just so great. But yeah, I really miss raving. The more we talk about it, and like Kandi, I'm like, oh no, like I forgot that's how it made me feel. Or I forgot like the different ways that it made me feel, for sure.
I agree. I know it's Kandi has definitely changed with it no longer being an in-person, no longer being an in-person trade. It's now Plur packages. And that's been very very interesting to see play out. A lot of good, a lot of really funky stuff in between, but for the most part, it's getting better. People are learning. I just can't wait to be done with Plur packages. I really can't. I just want to be able to trade in person again so badly, but I know that's not. It's okay to be optimistic, but I need to be realistic with Kandi that's may not happen for a while. So it has to go through Plur packages in the mail.
Yeah, I think for now, Plur packages are an alternative. At least it's there.
It is.
Yeah. So I have to ask you because I keep looking at all your Seven Lions stuff. What are some of your favorite songs from Seven Lions?
From Seven Lions, I guess I'll be basic and just say that I love Islands. And I
love that song too.
I feel the pressure of the world just going, you're really going to pick that song.
It's a good song though. And it like has that woolly part where it's like super hard.
Yeah, I love Islands. And then of course I know for, I always call him my husbando, but for my partner, his big thing was, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. So forgive me now, everyone, for listening and who's watching it as well. But it's the song where it's a floating jellyfish, a red one floating in the sky. And that song I know is his favorite. And that's what inspired a lot of the Seven Lions candy he makes as well.
Wait, is that the music video with the jellyfish in the sky?
No, it's hard because I remember the backstory. It was something about Seven Lions or Jeffafus was playing at a club somewhere in LA. They didn't like his music and they're like, play something harder. So he just randomly threw this song together and it's become just kind of, is it Old Worlds? Oh, I'm just burying myself further, deeper and deeper. And I'm feeling like all of the Seven Lions and all of our Leonis and Vegas Lions are just like so upset at me right now, but I can't think of the name of the song. But I remember the backstory, which is just so horridly comical and ironic.
You're fine. Watch, you're going to remember as soon as we're done recording.
I know. I'm going to go out there. It's a Z, and he's like, you didn't remember? And be like, no, I didn't.
Oh, you're fine. I know he has so many great songs, and oh man, you know that Still With Me remix?
Yes.
Above and Beyond one? Yeah, I'm going to get married to that song.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I just absolutely love that one. That one and Worlds Apart. I'm kind of like an older Seven Lions fan, but those are just like those super heartfelt ones that you like look at your friends while it's like playing while you're in the crowd, and it just is super feelsy, and I just absolutely love that.
I will say there is it's a Seven Lions remix of an Above and Beyond song called Sahara Love. And
I like that one too. Isn't what's her face from Florence and the Machine? Isn't that her singing it?
Like Haley or Haleen, I believe. I'm thinking of I don't know if anyone ever has that, when you know what the YouTube cover looks like when you're going through YouTube or SoundCloud, you're like, I know this is what the cover art looks like. I'm just trying to remember the person. And I think that's kind of one of those songs that just gets me and just stabs me in the heart with so much so much feels.
Oh yeah, especially because he works with a lot of with certain singers a lot. Like Haley, and he has that song just recently came out. What's Done Is Done. I love that one. There's just so many, and I was just talking about it with my friend Timmy. Seeing Seven Lions like 2 years ago at Escape, I was like, we're so lucky that we get to see him like now while he's still playing music, because eventually I feel like a lot of these artists will later on decide to like stop making music or stop touring. And I feel like he's just one of those people or artists that are just up there that are kind of legendary.
I can definitely agree with that. And there's a lot of people that fall into it. Like I know Afrojack, just to throw out like a random ones, like he took a break for a while and now he's back doing all of these virtual sets again. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, he did. He's done a few that I've seen where he was in like Dubai, and it's really comical. He's at this empty club, just streaming a live set, and I'm sitting there like, I can't remember the last time I listened to Afrojack, or I even saw him live. I can't remember that. And then all of a sudden he just kind of popped out of nowhere. I'm just very grateful that they always do Visions Fridays, and then Seven Lions, Emma and Courtney collectively do the like the Gem and Tori brunches on Sundays through their Twitch channel. Like, that's just so nice to be able to just pop that on while I'm doing dishes or I'm cleaning on the weekend, because that's really all I got going. Or like some gardening outside, I can just have that streaming outside, and it's just something nice to feel like there's still a part of something to look forward to in a way.
Right. Yeah, I think we all need something like that to kind of get us through everything. In fact, I started this podcast. Just
I love it though.
Compress.
I remember I saw the title of it and I started thinking about it, and I was just playing it because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love Audible as well while I work, because sometimes music can be, for whatever reason, too chaotic, because I'll start focusing on the music versus focusing on work. So I like having like a podcast or playing an Audible book in the background, because then for whatever reason that works. And I remember just one day I went through, I think, like 3 podcasts, which was like 3 or like half of my work day at that point, plus with breaks in between. And I was like, I'm going to go make some candy after after today, just listening to it. So it's nice to have something that's more eccentric and specific to what I love a lot about raves as well, to have that avenue. So again, I'm just so excited. I'm like nervous, but I'm just so excited to
Don't be nervous. You're doing so well. Yeah, hell yeah. No, and I found out you're like a candy kid, and I saw like some of the pictures of like the candy on your Instagram. I was like, okay, I need to have her on here, because I haven't had like a hardcore candy kid. And I was like, I have to. Like, how I would be such a bad person if I didn't have an actual candy on the show. And it's called Best Candy Ever. And I feel like that there's just not enough credit given towards you guys, because it's an art form that I feel like isn't really noticed or acknowledged. And I definitely see it as an art form. I love it so much. I always like whenever I see like super cool candy at a festival or a show, I'm always like, did you make that? Like, that is cool. And it's just so great to see people like showcase their talent and like just the meaning behind it. I mean, I can go on and on about it, but it's so great to see and talk to you about it. Someone who has mastered the craft.
Almost. There's always something new coming out. Like, I think I grabbed like some random, ironically, a peyote stitch thing that I've been working on that I've actually cut up twice and just resewn back together. And it's a total nightmare, but I'm just so determined to do it. And I think a lot of people as well, for the newer people getting into candy, I always say, you're always going to find some bad apples here and there. There are people that get into it for different reasons, but at the end of the day, those people will find something else to move on to. And the people that really do understand that gratification, and there's just so much a part of it that do stick with it. You can move on to making just whatever medium fits you. And I think a lot of people are drawn to candy because either they want to be a part of the community, they want to be accepted by a community and need a bridgeway into that, or they've been a creator or an artist in the past / musician. Like, ironically, I'm a guitarist and my husband is the drummer, so I always find it ironic that he's a singer and a drummer, and he married the guitarist. But we both have other things as well that falls into that third category of, I just haven't, like, we don't have the space anymore to have a setup for all of our musical instruments. So it's another way that we can express ourselves. And a lot of people are drawn to candy for all those different reasons. And it's probably even more that would, like, you're right, it would take us way too long to get through. But it's really been interesting seeing a lot more people get involved in candy and trying to explain the deeper meaning of Plur. it's not just that general, but if they can at least grasp that, you'll just go down this rabbit hole that's just the most beautiful journey. And somehow you'll end up meeting a Cheshire cat with some light up candy that's like, here you go. And you're just sitting there like, ah. And you just meet the coolest relationships with people through candy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% I do agree with that. I think that I feel like you have to experience receiving one in order to kind of get the gist of it. And it always happens when you least expect it too.
And I know that's so hard for a lot of people right now that have gotten into candy through quarantine, is they're like, I haven't had that experience of trading in person. They've only done Plur packages, and Plur packages came out of necessity. It's, I just wish so many people could have that experience, because it's so different than just seeing that human interaction and having that moment with that person. It's just, you just can't beat it. And I hope in the future that everyone that is getting into candy can have that moment eventually, because it really does change, I feel, how you interact with people as well at raves.
Right.
Unless they're trying to buy your candy, then they can just they're about like really drunk people that come up to candy kids. They're like, how much? Like, no, sir, you can just boop away. No, thank you. Would you like a single? Take a single. Go away.
It's funny that you say that, because my best friend Chloe, who I just recently had on the podcast, we had a discussion because in a prior episode I had mentioned how, long story short, this girl, she saw this guy with a really cool cuff and was like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Can I have it? And he was like, yeah, for $5. And initially,
it's a joke. Yeah.
No, I think he was serious. I think he was just he basically didn't want to tell her no up front. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of messed up. That's like unplur. But then she made a good point. She was like, hold on. He worked really hard on that piece of candy. And he doesn't have to give it away if he doesn't want to. If it looks that amazing that somebody wants it, then they can pay for it. I was like, I guess that's true too. But I feel like with both parties, it's the fact that they are both expecting something out of it, like a transaction. I think that's what made it kind of weird and slippery. So I don't know when it comes to stuff like that.
Oh, I agree. And I'm sure you could see it on my face. I'm a very facially expressive person. It's always a touchy spot for me, because it's one of those, like, don't talk about religion, politics, sex. If for the rave world, it falls into those like awkward categories of, do you sell candy or do you not? And especially again, through the quarantine, there are so many people that have Depop's and Etsy's, and I give them the absolute most love. I've even had family members that are like, you should sell your shit. And I'm like, that's awesome for other people, because it is an art. There are some pieces where you're like, holy crap, like that's insane. You should sell that and make some damn money, all the way to the simplicity of maybe someone doesn't want to make a single and they'd rather go to a place where they know they can get a collection of items. And that's all great and dandy. I just know it's one of those awkward moments where a lot of people will immediately get tooth and nail to it about, do you sell candy or do you not? And it's just one of those hot topics. It's always hard.
Right.
It's
and yeah, no, you're good. And you don't have to say anything about it. I'm like, you know what? In the end, it's about what the candy means. I don't think that that it's really about if you made it or if you didn't make it. I don't know. I just think that there's a little bit more to that physical candy, despite, all the beauty in it, the effort, the creativity. Like in the end, what does make it special is the meaning and the memory and the gesture behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
So
and that goes to the root of it. It does.
Yeah. So it can go so many ways.
It really can. And that's why I'm sitting here just like the penguins from Madagascar, just smile and wave. It's fine. So it's just one of those hot topics. And, I have a lot of friends, but they are a part of that. And I'll always like and support it and whatnot. That's fantastic. It's just not for me. And that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's completely okay. everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and everyone's different, and everyone has their own certain set of circumstances. If it's a candy kid that really needs money, that's going through stuff right now, especially with COVID, then I'm just like, do it, go for it. Like, you're good at this. Like people like
Why
it.
not? Yeah.
Yeah. And if you need the money, then by all means, I don't think it's like a candy kid selling out or anything, but anyways, enough of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's also hard because business is business at the end of the day. And I think that's one of the things I get old school about. I'm like, business is business. Like, I'm not going to mess with somebody's business. If that's your business, that's your business.
Right.
It's just not for me. However, I will say I've taken, I think, 2 commission pieces in my entire candy kid career. And they both were for friends, though. They're like, hey, I really like that. Can you make that for me? I'm like, I will make you something different, but not the exact same thing. And I think that's more of a common thread. I think a lot of candy kids could probably relate to doing like a few things like that. That's more common. More common. Let's move on. It's such a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Actually, we're actually about to wrap up. This went by so much faster than I anticipated.
Oh my gosh. No, we have to end it on a positive note then instead of talking about candy selling.
Yeah. Well, actually, I started a new segment on the podcast called Raver Advice. And basically, what this is it's a segment where people can submit any questions or issues, any dilemmas that they have, and it can range from anything. So, relationships, festivals, mental health, you name it. And I feel like it's just a really cool, fun way to connect with everyone and get some perspectives too. If you want like some insight from myself or my guests. And so I do have this question here.
Okay.
So let's see. How do you split up enjoying the experience and capturing it when you put the phone or camera down? And she also said, down and to just be in the moment. And this is from Rave with Shay, aka Shay, which is my good friend. So I feel like, well, you know what? You go first. I want to hear your input on that.
I was actually going to ask if you would please repeat the question so I can get a better understanding. Totally.
Sure. Please. So Shay's asking, how do you split up enjoying the experience and capturing it? For example, when you put the phone/camera down and just be in the moment.
I can definitely relate to that. For when you're first going to events, or especially if it's a newer event, like you've been going to raves for a while or you haven't, and it's just a new event, a new experience, a new environment, it's hard to say like, okay, I want to have my phone sitting in my like side boob the whole time, or like somewhere tucked that I can just pull it out, take a photo, be there. And it's so easy to get lost in that mentality as well. And at the same time, I think it's a little easier now to be able to put your phone away, especially if you are with a large group of people, or even if you're just with one other person, because they make backpacks and fanny packs now that are a lot easier to not get into. So you don't, in a sense, I feel more comfortable putting my phone away for the safety reasons, knowing that I have a good backpack that someone won't be easily be able to break into. That also is a peace of mind to say, I can live in the moment and enjoy. I don't have to have everything on me and in my hands and clutched tight. So I think that's maybe a physical and mental aspect of that. But also knowing that there's a lot of people out there that are willing to take a photo for you, or you can go back, and a lot of times they do like event clips where you can, in a sense, relive those moments for a bit. But my recommendation would be go to the festival early when not a lot of people are there yet. That's when you can take all of your cool, super awesome selfies. And I do it as well. That way I'm like, we got our selfie. We got our group selfie. We're only missing one person. We'll Photoshop them in there with Bernie sitting in the chair. Like, we got all of our photos done. Now I can put my phone away and just enjoy it. And they hand out the little festival cards so you know what time, and always wear a watch. A very cheap $2 $5 watch from like the dollar store. I have had a dollar store watch that has lasted me 7 or 8 years. That is my go-to, bomb proof. It glows in the dark. If I need to, I can pull out, what time is it? It's 8:35. At 8:45, such and such goes on. That's a lot easier to still be a part of everything, but still coordinate, go to the sets you want to, and not have to worry about your phone.
Right. I like how you mentioned that you actually get to the festival a little early and take all your photos there, things like that, because I definitely do the same thing. In fact, usually we have this joke about it where take as many photos and videos before it turns too dark and you get ugly. And it's just a stupid joke because, your makeup melts. When you get there, you look super fresh. So that's like the best time to take photos and do all that. But in regards to her question, I would say when you get to a certain set that that you love, go ahead and take like, 1 or 2 videos, your photos, and then like block out a good chunk of time for you to just enjoy and just be present and in the moment with the people that you came with. Because I'm super guilty of being on my phone all the time, trying to record everything. And I don't really record sets as much anymore because in the past I've recorded so many and I almost never go back and play them.
Isn't that always funny too? It's like, you're like, I know I'm going to need this moment. And then you're like, this is taking up 2 MGs or 2 little like things. This is way too much on my storage. I need to get rid of this. Like, I haven't checked that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And so that's why I don't do it as much. And I just try to enjoy myself while I'm there. And I definitely record way less sets and just try to enjoy it because in the end, like you don't want to watch that set through your phone.
Agreed. I find that the funnier, and also I think to add on, if someone really wants to have easy access to their phone all the time, there's something you can buy called a runner's belt. And my husband Z actually has one so that he can have his phone. It is something that you wear underneath your clothing, whether you're not wearing a lot of clothing or not. You could still wear it underneath pretty much anything. It lays completely flat. And it throughout the process of your entire front is a zipper with a lock. So if you really absolutely like, I am having a hard time with this, knowing that whether it's, I don't want to have someone go through my backpack or I want to be able to have my phone, people should look into that. It's on Amazon. It's super cheap. You probably find them at like random places, but they're called runner's belts and they lay it's super flat. You would never know they're there.
Oh man, I'm going to have to check that out. Runner's belt. Okay. Mental note.
Just in case. I know that's really hard too. It's a different era where you want to have those moments, but being in the moment is what creates those moments.
100%. I definitely agree with you. Well, Stina, I just want to thank you so much for being on Best Candy Ever. This was fantastic, and I can't thank you enough for sharing all your special candies with us.
Yes, thank you so much. It has been an honor. I was so nervous too about essentially, how am I going to pick a candy? And I realized the beauty of Best Candy Ever is it doesn't just have to be one candy. It can be candy that reminds you of the best people that have created the best moments in your life. So thank you so much for having this platform and allowing people like me to, like bring out, like fun little stuff like this. It's like, I just want to be around my candy again. And just thank you so much again.
Yes, absolutely. And do you want to go ahead and drop your plugs where people can find you?
Yes. So you can find me on IG. It is Yodaplurway. It's all one word, all lowercase. And you can always stay active for lots of random pet spam and random little candy bits. And I hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much, Stina. And we'll see you guys next time, Candy Crew.